Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another episode of Future Figuarts. This episode is number 14, and if you missed it, we covered the former king of the demon realm, Dabura, in our last episode. This time, we're taking a little bit more of an offset approach and looking at a character whom you could say is strictly promotional. And yet, he's gathering a little bit of steam in terms of a fan base, and that character is Cumber. And before I forget, a little bit of a shameless plug here. Now that we're approaching 5k subs, I've started a Patreon account. Many of you already show tons of support, with some of you even helping me try to find certain figures. So I thought I'd take it to the next level and start a Patreon, in case anyone wants to help the channel grow a little quicker. First goal I have up there is about 500 bucks. When we reach that, I'm going to start doing giveaways. We're at roughly 4,300 subs now. So if 500 people pledge $1 to the channel, we're well on our way with that. Alright, so back to business. Now, Cumber is a rather large saiyan, along the lines of Raditz or maybe even Nappa, but not quite as massive as Broly in my opinion. And for those of you who don't know who he is, he's featured in the promotional anime that's only airing in Japan for the Dragon Ball Heroes game. Real talk, if that alone doesn't explain why it takes Bandai so long to take into account Western feedback, I don't know what does. Anyway, based on his brief few appearances in the anime so far, we're supposed to get a sense that Cumber is this maniacal Saiyan hell-bent on destruction, fully decked out in a straitjacket and his own evil aura. And if you didn't get enough evil Goku during Super, you get him again briefly when he first fights Cumber and comes into contact with this evil aura. You'd think Dabura would have something like that, but oh well. So starting off with a scale, I see Cumber coming in somewhere around Android 16's proportions. Again, don't get me wrong, he's completely jacked, but he's not really oversized like Nappa or Broly are. He's more like Raditz or maybe even Super Saiyan 3 Goku, actually, if you see it. So next up is his outfit. Finally, we have a Saiyan aside from Broly with an original outfit. And let me just say, I'm a fan, man. We got a faceplate like cooler, makeshift burgundy tank top, shoulder straps to go with the faceplate, gauntlets with tattered pieces of the rest of what I'm guessing used to be a long sleeve shirt of some kind, and then we got tattered slave blue pants and white boots. Man, it almost seems like too much to see this come to light in figure form with all these new parts. But let's take things back into the overall shape for a second. I believe if they make this guy, they have no excuse not to give us a Raditz. Because to me, his hair looks like what Raditz's hair might have looked like had he went Super Saiyan. Or again, at least another version of Super Saiyan 3 Goku's hair. But again, like Raditz and Broly, Cumber's got a tail. This will make it the first figure since Scout or Vegeta to come with an unfurled tail, which is not a huge deal, but something I feel worth pointing out. Cumber's also out here stealing traits from other characters as he's got red eyes, despite not being Super Saiyan God form. Well, as far as we know, maybe he's in demon form, who knows. And one interesting thing to note is that I feel if this figure does get made, it will come with the red pupils, as his pupil-less self doesn't really fight that much from what we've seen. Alright, so back to the color palette now. To me, his color palette is very GT-esque. Maybe it's just the red and burgundy reminding me of Super Saiyan 4, which by the way, will get its own Future Figuarts episode eventually. Or maybe it's just the fact that Cumber's color scheme is so dark and grungy, much edgier than most of the other characters we're familiar with, kinda like Universe 9. For his skin tone, they could get creative and somewhat tinge it with a dark orange or red, kinda like the SDCC Kaioken Goku, although I doubt they will. So with that, I expect to see the basic flesh color there. For the hair now, of course we have nothing new, it's just the usual black as well, but now at least there's again a different hair sculpt. For the eyes, of course, we'd probably see something much like the Super Saiyan God eyes, but I mean, I feel they should go with more of a blood red here just to make it a little edgier. Now for the really cool part about the head, the faceplate, or mask, or whatever you want to call it. I definitely expect metallic silver here, and if they really want to take it up a level, have different tones of it, as it actually does in the anime. Aside from that, I think one of the more interesting things with Cumber is the facial expressions. Not that we've seen too many from him at this point, but it'll all have to be communicated through the eyes and eyebrows since we can't see his mouth. Pretty much a first unless we get my other boy, Final Form Cooler. Now with the body, this is also interesting here because it's almost like they have no choice but to give him a battle damage look due to the torn and tattered shirt and pants he wears. As I mentioned, I expect to see a nice burgundy here or even a crimson red. Again, I feel shading would definitely help this figure out, but right now it's kind of hit or miss at this point, isn't it? Now the shoulder straps and gauntlets should match the mouthpiece in terms of silver, but they've also got a mustard yellow on them too. Not exactly what I'd call gold, but I guess you could go there too. Anyway, I think this is a figure that can win big points for detail if they make it right, because of all the little intricacy in details across the straps, mouthpiece, and gauntlets. They're not just plain, they've got little divots and holes in them too, so hey, kinda like a break from all Vegeta's gloves and boots, right? Now lastly are his pants and boots. I think they could get away with using the same blue as the original 1.0 Vegeta's pants, which was that pale dark blue color, if you remember correctly. And then for his boots, they actually do differ from everyone else's, as they've got not only a different style slightly, but they've got silver studs on the side of them, so attention to detail is a must here. Alrighty, so face it, like I was saying, they've got to resort to eyes and eyebrows for expressions here. Maybe little creases here and there around the cheeks and mouth would work too, but I doubt they'd go that far. Aside from the neutral face, we could probably see a face with similar eyes but more pronounced, angrier looking eyebrows, and then maybe a face without pupils altogether. Now for his hands, we get the standard fists, the grabbing hands, and blast hands. Don't really think martial arts hands would come with him because he's more of a brawler like Broly, nor do I see him coming with the karate chops. One other hand I do think he might come with though is for whatever that Shadow Claw looking attack he used on Vegito is. Something open and possibly with energy surrounding it. Although they could have done that for Majin Vegeta too, but we didn't see it, so I wouldn't hold my breath from that one. Now for accessories, we have a little bit more wiggle room for creativity here as well. First thing that comes to mind is the straight jacket, of course, but I highly doubt we'd see it. Or you know what? We got a big ass sword with trunks and we're getting 4 heads with Great Saiyan Man, so why not? Hey, why not? No one's saying it's gonna be articulated or anything, but hey, throw in an extra hard piece of plastic and transform it into a straight jacket, why not? Aside from that, I'd want an energy effect part again for that Shadow Claw attack he used, and I gotta admit that attack was pretty cool. I haven't really seen anything like that in Figuarts form yet. And I mean, think of how cool that dark red, black, translucent plastic would look. Now lastly, in terms of accessories, we gotta get at least some other kind of tail. I mean, granted, it is hanging down most of the time and not doing much, but I mean, throw in another variation for us. Do it for the fans, man. Do it for the fans. So with Cumber, I think he's one of the more original characters, not just in terms of clothing, but also with regard to his dark aura as well, and that Shadow Claw attack. What do you guys think of him? Would you want a figure of this guy? Would you be ticked if he got a release slot before one of the other more canon characters? I think I would, despite the fact that he is a pretty cool character. But with the way releases have been going, I honestly wouldn't be surprised at this point. Not saying he's likely, but still, who can say for sure nowadays? Alright guys, that's all I got for you on this one. Just thought I'd switch it up a bit and throw a little bit of a left field character out there. Don't forget to hit me up on Instagram at BrownSpidey, and definitely check out our Patreon page. Both the links are down below. Until then, you know what I always say, may the best of your todays be the worst of the tomorrows. Peace.